If you like the video, make sure to subscribe and like.
Your Majesty, I bring excellent news. The Queen of Rork had accepted our proposal to install ambassadors in both courts to further our diplomatic overtures. I have arranged a council meeting for tomorrow morning to select our ambassador to Rork. I'm sure the council members will voice strong opinions, particularly Lord Manderley, but I would like to take this moment to suggest my favorite candidate, Count Grindelwald. He has extensive knowledge of Rorkian politics and culture from his business dealings, and as a staunch supporter of... You just yawned. No need to apologize, Your Majesty. I'm not offended, merely surprised. You usually pay rapt attention to my briefings. Of course, I usually meet with you earlier in the day. I do apologize for arriving at your bedchamber so late, but I merely wish to ensure you are aware of my advice before the meeting. Are you feeling tired? It has been a long day. First, you had to receive the delegation of farmers and have lunch with the Archbishop, and of course, you insisted on training alongside your royal guard. You understand the entire purpose of having a royal guard is to ensure you never have to lift a sword to defend yourself, correct? Yet, for some reason, you insist on practicing your fencing for hours. While we're discussing your noble pursuits, I'm afraid I've cancelled next week's hunting trip. I know how much you were looking forward to trudging through the underbrush looking for boar, but I need you here in the castle. Please don't attempt to protest, Your Majesty. You know I have your best interests at heart. I'll try to schedule a trip later in the year if certain goals are met. I see we're about to have one of our polite disagreements. Yes, you are the king of this realm, and yes, that does mean you have the freedom to do whatever you wish. No one is disrupting that, Your Majesty. However, if I may be permitted to explain my reasoning, I'm sure you'll agree that it's best to cancel your little excursion. I have used my contacts to arrange a formal meeting with the so-called King of Pirates, whose covets have been terrorizing our merchant ships in the Western Sea. As you're aware, our Navy's attempts to capture this individual have been fruitless, with the corsairs attacking then slipping away before our forces can arrive. Rather than continuing an effectual and expensive campaign, I instead intend to make an offer to this marauder. We will offer him clemency, providing he agrees to refrain from any further attacks on our vessels. Additionally, we will provide him with clandestine information on the routes used by Rorkarian trading ships. We will be protected from further pillaging while Rork's economy suffers. Now, do you agree that your presence here to ensure this crucial deal goes through is most important for the realm than bringing home a couple of boar carcasses and some fresh scars? Excellent, Your Majesty. I'm so glad you understand my perspective. That was an admirable effort to disguise your yawn by turning away. But unfortunately, it didn't fool me. You're clearly exhausted. Take off your robe and get into bed. Need I remind you about tomorrow morning's council meeting, as we discussed only a moment ago? I need you well rested and energized enough to prevent Lord Manderley's inevitable attempts to hijack the ambassador selection process. We both know he's been desperate to find some posting for his idiot son to fail upwards into. Well, I'm sure the boy would do well in a position where he's not required to use a spoonful of lukewarm soup he calls a brain. This ambassadorship is far too critical for our foreign policy goals. Therefore, it is essential you rest as soon as possible. Allow me to help you with your robe. I find it amusing how all your resistance to my suggestions disappear when I draw close to you. What is it about our bodies being in close proximity that makes you more pliable to my words? You disagree. Need I remind you of last week, when we were arguing in the gardens over the seating arrangement for the banquet? You were adamant you wished to be seated next to Lady Tremel until I reached over to brush a stray hair off your cheek. Suddenly, you agreed that it was best for you to sit between the merchant barons. Perhaps the next time I have a proposal we're bound to disagree on, I should simply lay a kiss upon your cheek before suggesting it. I'm sure any resistance would simply melt away. I'm joking, Your Majesty. I didn't intend on causing you to blush so violently, I assure you. Now that you've disrobed, I suggest you slip beneath your sheets. I'll ensure you get comfortable. Excellent, Your Majesty. You look rather adorable wrapped in your sheets. Allow me to take a seat on your bed next to you. I'm very proud of you for how you dealt with the Archbishop. You let him prattle on about the importance of his sermons as I advised, then chose the perfect moment to interject and secure his endorsement for the new taxation system. Flawlessly executed, just as I expected. I'm sure it was difficult to hear him compare you to your father. I saw your face tighten from across the room, even though he meant it as a praise. Any mention of his late majesty provoked such strong emotions within you. Clearly, the wound left by his passing has yet to heal. It's all right, Your Majesty. I'm not criticizing you for having a natural reaction, merely providing sympathy. When I saw you so suddenly struck by grief, I wanted nothing more than to rush across the room and lead you somewhere private to process your emotions. Of course, I am bound by the limitations of my role. You should always feel comfortable expressing your feelings with me. Unlike the other council members, I only have your best interests at heart. If you ever need someone to give you comfort, then... What? No, I'm not saying this because of what happened at the Winter Ball. This is just a casual offer of compassion towards you. Nothing more. We've never talked about the Winter Ball before. I'm surprised you chose to bring up the subject. Make no mistake, I'm more than happy to discuss it. You shouldn't feel any shame for what happened. You wish to hear my recollection of the event? Very well. I was keeping a close eye on you during the dance. As we'd planned, it was imperative you spent an equal amount of time dancing with both Countess Nerith and Lady Varnell to ensure the support of both noble houses. You performed brilliantly. Your speech before the feast was charming and self-deprecating. You strengthened your bond with all of our key allies. Every goal we had for the ball was surpassed. But then I suddenly couldn't find you. You just vanished from the ballroom. I was concerned that you'd taken ill or been abducted. After searching the entire castle from top to bottom, I finally found you in the royal crypt. You were in great distress, standing at your father's tomb. You told me how much you missed him, how difficult it is to live up to his legacy. And I took you in my arms and held you until your tears stopped flowing. I soothed you until you recovered, before ushering you up the back stairs to your bedchamber, ensuring none of your guests saw you in such a state. The next day, when you acted as if nothing had happened, I was confused. I hadn't judged you for being struck by such intense grief. Instead, I was gratified that you felt safe enough with me to find comfort in my embrace. However, I understood the burden placed on you by the crown. You were to never show your emotions to those beneath you in rank. If I may ask, Your Majesty, why did you feel moved to discuss this tonight? It has been some time since the Winter Ball. I see. You have been rethinking our professional relationship lately? Your Majesty, would this be due to the rumors being spread by some of the ladies at court? You should know that those minor noble women would do anything to get closer to the throne. They're simply jealous of the close bond we have cultivated, nothing more. There's nothing strange about our spending so much time together. It is my duty to understand your thinking as much as possible in order to provide you with the most practical advice. Ah, so the discomfort you feel is due to concerns about how much influence I have over you. Your Majesty, I never wished for you to feel that you are anything other than the most powerful individual in the kingdom. I live to serve you and carry out your will. I have no ambitions of my own. Yes, I can be rather commanding with you, but that's simply because I've found that that's what you need, and that's what you respond to strongly. When I gently make subtle suggestions, you often brush them aside without a second thought. It's only when I'm firm about my expectations that you will actually listen. I know the workings of your mind better than anyone, even yourself. Consider the knighthood ceremony last month, where I ensured General Barristan was too distracted by a flirtatious young maiden to deliver his usual mandaring speech about the value of war. I know how irritating you find listening to him boast about his alleged heroism, so I took action for you. You are still completely in control, however. There isn't a single aspect of our relationship where I hold the upper hand. Very well, Your Majesty. I acknowledge that there is an imbalance in terms of the information we possess about each other. I know everything about you, but you know very little about me. I don't consider my past to be important. All that really matters is my dedication to you. If you are curious, however, I can tell you I was born in a small village in a land very, very far from here. I lived a hard life full of struggle. However, I eventually discovered my innate talent for manipulation and used it to ascend through the rungs of society. I still remember the day I first encountered you. I came to your court intending to extract a trade agreement from you on behalf of a client. I have been informed of your youth and inexperience from having suddenly being forced to take the throne after his late majesty's passing. I expected to manipulate you easily. But when I saw you there, sitting quietly on your throne, looking utterly lost as nobles and courtiers argued in front of you, it broke my heart. I could immediately tell you had no close confidants, no true advisors who cared more about you than their own greed. I felt moved to become your right hand, to provide the guidance and counsel you desperately needed. You didn't trust me at first, did you? It's understandable. I was a stranger from a foreign land who had confidently presented you the opportunity to hire me. I recall the suspicious look in your eyes as you listened to my proposal. You know, you never told me why you agreed to employ me as your advisor. What convinced you? That was it. It wasn't the detailed suggestions I provided for strengthening your reign, or the defiances I pointed out in your advisory council. It was only because I didn't promise you my undying loyalty. I do see a certain logic to your decision. You must have heard so many meaningless platitudes from your quarters and promising to carry out your will and defend you forevermore, when you knew in your heart they would betray you for the slightest amount of coin. I never would have promised more than I am certain I can deliver, so I was rather non-committal when I made my proposal. Regardless of what led you to accept my services, I am glad that we found each other. It has been the greatest of pleasures of my life to see you overcome the considerable challenges thrust upon you by fate, and mature into a strong and wise ruler. I am proud of you. Nonsense, Your Majesty! There's no need for you to return the praise to me. I am merely performing the duties you generously entrusted me with. The honor of standing behind the throne as you rule is thanks enough. Now, as pleasant as this conversation has been, it is well past the time for you to rest. You have a busy day ahead of you. After the council meeting, you will make a adjudication in the dispute between the Port Authority and the Fishmongers Guild. Then you have to sit for your official portrait for the Royal Gallery. You'll be ruling in favor of the fishmongers, by the way. It's better to make a decision that will empower the commoners, even if it angers the bureaucrats. You ultimately rely on populist support as a counter to the nobility, after all. In regards to your portrait, I'm afraid I've decided against your request to be depicted raising your sword. While I agree it would make you look dashing as you described it, my concern is you would appear as a warmonger king, obsessed with conquest. That is not an accurate portrayal of your reign. Instead, you'll be shown holding a scroll to reflect the valuable trade agreements you have signed, and with an owl perched on your shoulder to illustrate your wisdom. Hmm. You really are exhausted. I am expecting considerable resistance. Well, if you're too tired for the usual argument, I won't press the issue. Before you fall asleep, however, there is one last matter we need to discuss. Lady Gwendolen. Suddenly you look fully awake. Does her name really provoke such passion with you? You're correct, Your Majesty. I don't approve of how close you two have become. I hear that you're together nearly every day, and catching the two of you giggling together in the map room was troubling. I see your protestations beginning to form, so allow me to be frank. It is unseemly for the king to spend time in private with a lady from such a low ranking house, and her interest in you is not sincere. Instead, she has been instructed by her meddling parents to feign attraction, all for her family to rise in influence. Yes, Your Majesty, I know her adoring gaze and playful flirtation seems genuine. The girl is a talented performer. After I've distanced her from you, I may employ her in one of my schemes. But I can assure you, her only true goal is to gain prestige for her house from forging a connection between you two. The distress you are feeling is my fault. While you become adept at detecting the deceptions and lies of those around you under my tutelage, you haven't been taught to notice the subtler art of feminine seduction. You shouldn't be ashamed. In my experience, very few men can withstand a beautiful woman showing interest in them. Your education needs to be expanded to include defenses you can use against future attempts to beguile you. I believe you also require significantly more experience with intimacy, solely to ensure you're less susceptible to seduction, of course. The question is, though, who would teach you? It would need to be someone you find attractive, but also a person you utterly trust to ensure you feel safe in expressing vulnerability. Do you have any ideas for potential tutors, Your Majesty? Whoever you'd be intimate with should be to your liking, after all. Me? Your Majesty, it was never my intention to be so bold to suggest myself for this role, I assure you. Still, as you're certain you can trust me and you find me desirable, then I suppose I am the most pragmatic choice. Well, I'm glad to add one more task to my official duties. Tomorrow night I will return to this bedchamber and we can begin your instruction. I'm sure you will be an eager student. Sleep now, Your Majesty. There is a busy day ahead. May the knowledge that I'll be right by your side bring you comfort in your dreams.